أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله. The best words are the words of Allah Almighty. The best example is the example of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us that when the call is made to pray on Friday, we should leave off our trade and we should leave off our business, and that we should hasten to the remembrance of Allah, for indeed that is best for us, if only we knew. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having favored us by allowing us to be among those of His servants who have listened and obeyed His instructions. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to elevate us and allow us to do the other duties that are compulsory upon us, and those duties that are not compulsory upon us that will bring us closer to Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to elevate the community from one stage to the other in a positive way and continue to make us all contributors to the overall success. This is the last khutbah for this year, 1444 AH. So inshallah, when you see the new moon, we'll be in a new Islamic year. It is very, very instructive that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used this ummah to have a marked difference from the other people's calendar. Our calendar has a marked difference because remember we talk about the seasons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the believers during different parts of the year. We just in the last part of the Hajj season, well, the Hajj has been completed. The Hujjaj should be back on their way home. Back home. But the season of Hajj had its own specific importance in the lives of the Ummah. And when we go into the new month, Muharram, it will also have significant periods in our lives. Talking about specifically Ashura, 10th of Muharram. Most people in Trinidad just know the 10th of Muharram, Ashura, as Husay, the day where people beat Tassa and have a nice time, and in St. James or wherever else they do this stuff. But in the lives of the believers, this day of Ashura is very significant. When Rasulullah ﷺ came to Medina, he met the Jews and celebrating this fast of Ashura. They said that was the time when they were liberated from Pharaoh and all the other miracles that they talk about in the life of Musa alayhi salam. So we as Muslims also have this day is very significant in our lives. So we should pay attention to the next month, Muharram, and why it's so important that the Prophet used to single out fasting in the month of Muharram, on this 10th of Muharram. But he said that if he should live the other year, he would have joined it from the 9th and the 10th. So you would fast the day before Ashura or the day after to distinguish ourselves from the other people who fast on that day. Wednesday that has passed here, we had a Quranic competition in the school where the children from the different classes and so on came out to recite Quran. That exercise is so important in the growth of this community, that our children understand the importance of Al-Quran. So we might be able to draw up, examples from them when they go forward in their lives, and as elders, that we have not understood the importance of Quran in our lives. The Prophet, peace be upon him, has said that the greatest mu'jiza, greatest miracle that he has received from Allah Almighty is Al-Quran. We know that the Prophet, peace be upon him, by the mercy of Allah, did all different kind of mu'jiza. The Arabs, the unbelievers say, if you are the Prophet of Allah, you see that full moon, there was the night of the full moon in Mecca. You say, put half of that moon on this side of the valley and put the next half on the next side of the mountain. Two mountains that encase Mecca. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Muhammad, peace be upon him, the authority to do so. And in their face, they saw that manifestation. That miracle was nothing in comparison to the Quran. Although if you look at it from a scientific standpoint, it is a phenomenon, that the moon could be split and two halves on either side of the mountains. But that pale in comparison to Al-Quran. That is why it's so important as Muslims that we understand that we must become attached to the Quran. Rasulullah said he has left two things for us, the Quran and his sunnah, his way of doing things. And if we as a people hold on to these two, we would never go astray. The Quran is a book of healing. It's a book of protection. It has all different medicines in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us as a people that we live in a period of history where you have the emergence of scientific advancement. So the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam 1400 years back, was given this kitab, this book, And this book talks about many, many things that would happen in the world and many scientific realities, too many to mention. But we live in a time when technology has proven, endorsed the ayahs of the Quran when there was no way that that person in Mecca with no scientific information could have known these facts. We'll find that if we check any of these, we go on the net and find anything, Google it, the Quranic miracles, and it will come up in a list. It will amaze you the amount of things that the Quran tells us that the people now discovering because they have these advanced technologies. Talk about the expanding of the universe. The universe continues to expand. Allah tells us that in the Quran 1400 years back. He told us about the creation of in the mother's womb, the stages of after every 40 days, the fetus goes through a different process. What comes first? What develops first? The whole sequence. Allah talk about the bones and he clothed them with flesh. Read the ayats, read it for yourself. We can't go through all that detail now. We don't have the time for that. But what we're talking about today is the miracle of the Quran. And that is why it's so important that our children understand this reality. So this exercise that went on Wednesday brought people to tears, where the elders sat and listened to the children recite Quran. Memorize from 3 years, from 4 years, 5 years, come right up. And that has given us more commitment to ensure that we establish the Hafiz program, the Hifz program, to teach children the whole Quran, to teach those young people who have the courage to make the effort to learn the whole Quran. There are so many benefits. One of the benefits of being a Hafiz, a protector of the Quran, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you permission to intercede for 10 people from your family on the day of Qiyamah, when they're in trouble. 10 people. They're in trouble. Things looking dismal for them. Allah has given the Hafiz permission to intercede for 10 of his folk, or her folk. So we would appreciate that gift at that time. But now all those who contribute to making it a reality would also share in that tremendous reward. You would also share in a tremendous reward because you have contributed in that cause of changing, the narrative that Jamaat al-Muslimin is producing Hafiz of Quran, Hufaz. Because many people say, them fellas don't them know nothing about Islam. Them only a set of youngsters and a set of fools and men who just like Islam, they're dressing like Muslim and united, all kind of foolishness. We have to change the whole narrative have to change. That whole narrative has to change. And we have to make the commitment and make the effort to change that. It wouldn't happen just so. So whoever contribute to allowing the community to transform its image would share a great barakah. Great barakah. There's something called Sadqatul Jariyah. I will continue to recite that on this member as long as I can. That we die and we go to our graves, but our deeds continue to accumulate in good deeds. Good deeds coming to meet us. You know, if somebody have shares in some big corporation and they lie down on the couch reading papers and making money and dividends coming and shares coming and they selling check for you. So Sadaqatul Jariyah is contributing to a good cause, and one of the best causes is to produce a person who memorizes the Quran. And the name was chosen is Hafiz, a protector. So Allah has used you to protect the book. So we're asking the parents to come forward so we could get this process going. We need commitment from people. Not just, I can't do it by myself. The sisters in the school, the teachers and them can't do it by themselves. The teacher of the Quran can't do it by himself. We must have the children and the young people who commit themselves to the process and make the effort to bring us to another stage, another level. So everything now is just like you're going to start a race, ready, set, go. Right now we sit. We aren't ready, but we sit. It's to go. And to go, we need the participation of people coming forward and say, I on board with this. I'm committed to this. If it takes 3 years, I might sacrifice to make that contribution. By the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will never regret that. Never, ever regret that. That sacrifice. The Quran is the book of Allah and it needs to be respected. You can't take the Quran and sit on the ground and you have to be in a state of tahara to pick up the book and to read it, Quran. You have to have wudu, or if you need to make a ghusl, you have to be bathed. When Umar and came, when he was not Muslim, and he heard his sister them reciting Quran, he said, let me see it. They said, no, you have to go and bathe. You have to go and clean yourself first. And when he cleansed himself and he picked up the book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened his heart and he rushed to the Prophet. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Leaving with the intention of killing the Prophet. As soon as the Quran interfaced with the Quran and it entered his heart, he was the biggest defender of Islam. So all the people out there who bad talking Islam is because they had not had the experience of Umar interfacing with the Quran. So the kitab of Allah, the book of Allah, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be, to be respected to the point. You can't take the Quran and sit on the ground. We have a whole set of Quran stands that we bring that you can to rest the Quran on to read. So people have to understand you can't have Quran all over the place, rest down on the ground and all them kind of thing. We have to understand the adab in dealing with Quran. The house of Allah, the masjid, is the Baitullah, the house of Allah. And the masjid has certain rights. The masjid should be visited and maintained by the believers. Talking about keeping it clean and perfumed. That is the sunnah for the masjid. Not have any masjid as a place, water bottle, so you come and you're drinking water outside, you're drinking as you drink, you come and just rest it on the corner. Next thing they fall on the ground, one set of ants in the mosque, biting people when they're making salah. We need to understand that we have to change our attitudes towards the Quran and the masjid, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The growth of Islam depends on the efforts of people. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given Prophet peace be upon him certain people in his ranks. All the time they're kicking the Muslims all over the place in Mecca. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Hamza as a defender for the believers. When he took Shahada, people could have lined up behind him now. Shoulders broad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used people to bring about his plan. But we have to do our part. That is reality. Man gets what he strives for. If we don't make effort, we can't benefit. That is the rules. Man gets what he strives for. You have to make effort within yourself. You have to make sure, you have to struggle against your own desires. Prophet peace be upon him, when the Muslims were leaving, after they had a major battle at the opening of Mecca, and the battle called the Battle of Hunain. The Muslims came out in about 12,000. When Abu Bakr Sadiq was the rank, you see Muslims like ants going up against the people of Taif, the people of Taqif and these places. Taqif tribes. And the manifestations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help was evident. It may sound as a digression a little bit, but let me do digress a little bit. When the people of that tribe were about to attack the Muslims, there was the leader, his name was Hakim, I think his name was. He tell some of his soldiers, go and do a scout, go and do a surveillance at the enemy, at the Muslim army. And when they came back, the knees just buckling under them, and then total, in a mess, total mess. You say, listen, we have seen with our eyes people that we don't know nothing about. These men, like white people, riding on they call it piebald horses. You say when you look at them, fear will enter your heart immediately. You understand? So terror, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent angels in the ranks of the Muslims that even the unbelievers were able to see. You see, Abu Hurairah, he was only looking up and down, and only in amazement. One of the Sahabas said, if you was in the battle of Badr, you wouldn't be doing that, because it had more. If you were in the battle of Badr, you wouldn't be gazing and looking at them. It had more in the battle of Badr. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his forces among the ranks of the believers to make them firm. Read the ayats. Allah said he will send 1,000 angels ranks upon ranks. How many thousand ranks upon ranks? He's telling you that in the Quran he would send that for you when you're going up against the enemies of Haqq. But if you find yourself in a bad place and you have a corrupted soul, they would not be in your ranks. They would abandon your ranks because you have not qualified to get the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You would not have qualified to get the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all that comes right back to purification, making yourself clean in all the different ways that you need to make yourself clean, not only in terms of your body, but in terms of your whole conduct. There's this man making big dua, Ya Allah, help. Say, how you going to be helped? Your food haram, your clothes haram, your life haram. You can't be helped. The help of Allah would not come if we don't purify the ranks. So all that goes right back to the understanding of the relationship between us and the Kitab of Allah. But we have two. The Prophet says what? He has left you two things, the Quran and my sunnah, my way. If you hold on to these two, you would never go astray. So that means we must establish the study of Muhammad's Sirah, the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. The Sahabas used to teach their children, who we call the Tabain. They used to teach them the Sirah, the life of the Prophet, as how they taught them Quran. That is how important it was. Because that pair is two. He didn't say the Quran and my sunnah, my way. Because we need to understand how to do. Allah tell us establish Salah. Who told us how to establish Salah? Jibreel alayhi salam came and explained to Muhammad, peace be upon him, how to perform the prayer. And now he taught the Sahabas exactly how to perform the prayer. So if Allah says establish the prayer, yes, but how? So the instruction is there, but how to enact that is according to the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is critical that we establish the understanding of the Sirah, the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is why all these books that are there with the Sirah, we must spend time and get involved with that. We must spend time and understand them, so we understand what we should do in terms of our going forward as a community. So the challenge is upon us. The challenge is upon us. It's we who take that responsibility when Allah offer it to the heavens, the mountains. Everybody refused. But man was indeed foolish. Man accepted this responsibility to be Khalifa, Allah's representative. We have accepted that responsibility. So in order for us to execute and deliver, that is where the challenge comes. That is where the challenge comes. And each and every individual have to do it for themselves. That is the difference with Islam. There's no savior here to say, well, believe and everything. Mm-hmm. Everybody had to get up and struggle for them own souls. Yes. You had to struggle to bring your soul to purify. And Allah says he's successful who purifies it, and he's a failure who corrupts it. Corrupts what? As I was saying, when they left Hunain, and after opening Mecca, Prophet peace be upon him made a statement. He says, you are now left the small jihad to go to the big jihad. They're going back to Medina. They're now coming out and fight, man cutting off the hand and the neck with sword, pelting spear and busting their chest. And he says, you are now left the small jihad to go to the big one. You say, how? He says, you're going to fight against your nafs, your desires. So you leave that, you leave them people who come to kill you, and you're going out to fight against your desires. That is the big one. That is the one, if we could win that, then we have ascended. We have grown in Iman. Remember, when Jibreel alayhi salam came in the desert, and he told the Sahabas, who was sitting with the Prophet, he told the Prophet, peace be upon him, asking, what is Islam, what is Iman, what is Ihsan? And he said, he explained to him, Iman is to believe in Allah, to establish a prayer. And he tell him exactly what Islam is, and then tell him what Iman is. So in Islam, you have degrees. We have degrees. As of anything else, in karate, it have different belts coming up until you have black belt and 2 degree and 4 degree. It have degrees in Islam. Everybody not at the same level. Everybody is not at the same level. Let me face that reality. There are people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed to elevate higher than others. Based on what? Striving. And Abu Hurairah, who recite all these hadith and give us all these narratives, you know, he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given me two sources of knowledge. He has given me two sources of knowledge. He says one is for public consumption, more or less. He said that. So he had the hadith that Abu Hurairah reported this. Abu Hurairah reported that. And he said the other source, if I tell all you, I'll cut off my neck. The other source, if I tell all you, I'll go fly in my neck. So don't feel that Islam is just everything just in front of just on this plane. It's not just on this plane. This plane exists, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed the believers to transcend this plane to other levels that people can understand. That is why some of the Sahabas could have rode their horses over the flooded river of Tigris to go in and fight against the different people, the Persians and all of these people. Ride their horses over the Tigris. You know the Tigris River is? Coming down flooded. Is expanse of water as far as you could see. It's like a lake. You can't see the other side. And deep. Sahabas rode their horses over that to go. So don't feel like this deen is some ordinary thing. Then people saw that reality at these people that they didn't have any understanding. They said these people and them, they even had to lift the sword and your head gone, blow, gone. And if you're doubting me, go to the Sirah, read it for yourself. You'd understand the depths of this deen of Islam. You understand how deep this is that Allah has given us as a deen, and we're playing with it. You know, as Sheikh was saying last night, you know, say that if you give a baby diamonds and rubies and pearls, they go play with it, play marble with it, and think, yeah, they go play a little pitch. But if you bring a lollipop for them, they pelt him with them pearls and them diamonds. But they understand a lollipop. Not knowing that the diamonds and the pearls could have buy them a lollipop factory. So we don't understand the depths of this deen. That is why we continue to play as though we do Allah a favor by coming to the masjid. Not realizing that Allah has conferred a favor upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to elevate and increase us in guidance. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق نصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.